Well, Eric, welcome to the seventh fireside chat. Hopefully, you're feeling lucky, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, spending time with you, how much more lucky could I be?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And thanks for the invitation. It's
Oh,
like it's
of
really
course.
an honor.
It's just you're one of the interesting people that I interact with online mostly. I was just saying we have met, but once a long time ago.
I think we met a couple of times, and
Oh, maybe we met a couple. Have we met at CSUN as well?
yes, we met at
Yeah,
CSUN,
okay.
we met at TPAX, we met at
Fucking hell.
all the different things at Frontiers, really back
Yes,
in the
yes, I
day.
remember Frontier. That's where, I had to go and live on a mountain after your comments, Frontier. No, I totally understood. Um,
And but
and
do you remember where we met for the first time?
yeah, wasn't that in somewhere in Germany yes, and Martin Klein? Do you remember him?
Yes, exactly,
Yes, Mark
exactly.
Klein
It
was
was,
there and Pat was there. It was the first time, I don't know if it was the first time I met Pat, one of the first times, and he took some pictures on me. Uh,
yeah, and that was in 2008.
fuck
Like,
you know.
incredible.
Yeah, that is a long time ago.
It
Um,
is.
so we met that's the time I remember meeting you. Don't take it personally that I don't remember meeting. Like, it's perfectly plausible, but I'm sort of I get overwhelmed when I'm at these events, and I tend to shut down, shut off, and go and hide in my room for long periods. And when I do come out, I'm usually half sourced. So
No, I totally understand. And like, yeah, I mean, for me now it's like distant memory. But when I went to all these events, it was also like, always draining. Like basically you go to like 3 days of conference and then you go like 2 weeks of vacation because like
yeah,
it takes it really out of you.
yeah, no, yeah, I do find it does. How long did you work for the W3C for?
This is a funnily more complex question as you would think it is. So I started in December 2013, and then my first initial contract ended in March 2016. And then Nobility sent me as a fellow until 2020, like half time.
Yeah.
So, you make your calculation how long I worked for W3C from
Well, yeah, I mean, LinkedIn claims that I've worked for the W3C for 20 odd years. Unfortunately, LinkedIn, you can't seem to, you can say that you're doing something there, but it assumes that you're, yeah, it's just crummy. Another one of the crummy things about LinkedIn, um, for sure. So now you're working for Access Labs. How long?
Access Lab, yeah.
Yeah, Access Lab. How long you been there? What is it? Who are the co-conspirators?
Yeah, I mean, Access Lab is a Swedish accessibility company, basically doing the usual, audits and
So who are the
stuff.
other guy? Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that I know them.
So you probably know Daniel Göransson, who works for
Yes,
us.
he
Um,
worked for you,
yeah.
but no longer.
No, he still works for us.
Yes.
Like, so still works for Access Lab, and yeah, and I'm working with them for 3 years now, 4 years almost.
Look.
And yeah,
Yes. When I was at, I don't know if you can see this. You can't see it. No. But anyway, I've got this Access Lab bag that I got from. I went to the Amsterdam. I was going to say comedy club, but it's accessibility club.
right.
And yeah, it was 10 years of Access Labs. So that was a couple of years back.
Yeah, and
Oh, Daniel and somebody else as well.
yeah, Erik Gustafsson.
Yes, Eric.
We
Yeah.
have we have a lot of Erics.
Yeah, no, no,
So if
but
you
I know
wanted to speak to the other Eric, you're wrong here.
which other Eric. Oh no, Eric Gustafsson. I don't no. He's a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure I can speak to him at some point. That's the thing. Once you start scratching the surface of people to speak to, it keeps on growing. Like I thought I'd just do a couple of these and then, but like, yeah, I've just got the list keeps on growing, and so we're up to you. Let's move to the Rose Gallery because this is something that I do. I won't ask you which chair you want to sit in because they're obviously not real chairs, and you've got a perfectly comfortable chair of your own. But as we know, I will share this briefly. My screen. Yeah, as you know, why can't I don't know why I've got.
And we need some like elevator music in the background.
Yeah, it's
So,
just me fucking about with the controls. Um, anyway, Fireside Chat, sponsored by HTMLZ. That's the etsy.com // shop / HTMLZ. If you use the code Piggy Trump, you're going to get 20% off. Already low prices. So please do. And what you've probably realised from listening to the others is that one of the many benefits of being on this podcast, Eric, is that you choose an item from the HMZ store and it will be sent to you.
wow, this is an incredible deal. I can only recommend people coming on your show and
Okay, yes, just for the, I mean, yeah.
no, it's awesome. Like really nice.
And as I was explaining that, where, oh God, hold on. As I was explaining to, there, share. All right. Can you see the Rose Gallery?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So, yeah, you, you're fairly au fait as far as you know what you need to do here, no?
Yeah, you want me to identify all those people, and I know
Yeah.
some of them, so that's awesome.
Yeah, well, some of them, and it's the journey of discovery. It's just of the many people that I've encountered over my time doing the web center stuff. You know, some people know, some people don't, and hopefully I've captured a few people that you do know. Um,
Yeah, I
so
think so.
okay, top left.
The top left is very small.
Yeah,
I do the Adrian Rosselli thing where I lean in like really close, but it's difficult. So you can help me with that person.
it's Doctor Swan. Why doesn't anybody see?
Is it always Dr. Swallow on the top right?
Yes, top
Top
left
left.
is always Doctor Swallow. There he
Okay.
is. He's standing outside the Shroomies store, which is a magic mushroom store in Toronto. Um, every time I lost him, I looked around and there he was, either coming or going or just waiting by that store to open. I don't know why. Um, yeah, but that's Doctor Swallow,
Awesome.
and
Dr. Swallow as always.
yeah, as always, and he well, apart from being a top-notch accessibility, he's got a PhD in web accessibility. I mean, who has that?
Well, I don't. I
No,
don't
nor
have
do
even
I.
one of these weird certificates that they hand out to people. So,
No, no,
I
nor
don't know.
do I. But he did his PhD in like it's human factors and stuff. But he's got his PhD in web accessibility. That's where he did his at the University of York. What a prestigious place! I mean,
Wow.
he used to hang out with Prince Andrew, but we don't mention that anymore.
We should not. We
Yeah,
should not.
no, no, no. Truthfully, there is actually a newspaper clipping of the day that David met Prince Andrew. he came, Princess Andrew, Prince Andrew came to his school, and there was David, and he was doing some scientific experiment or something, and Prince Andrew was looking on. So, so there is that. To that, there is some truth to that scurrilous rumor. That's what I was trying to say. Moving swiftly on, who do we have next?
Yes, that's Judy Brewer from formerly W3C. Basically, my boss at the time when I worked there.
Yeah, she's a person that had a great effect on the culture and the success of the Web Accessibility Initiative in at the W3C. She was there for many years. Uh,
Yeah, she basically founded like Way, the Web Accessibility Initiative, and then led it until 2022 or something like that. I guess after I left W3C, it was like that was not a fun place to work anymore. So,
no, well, after you left or during the time that you were there?
probably both.
Yeah, but not due to you. I mean, who were you work? Who were
that
your
that was the
peers?
joke, but no.
Yeah, who were your peers? Like there was Michael Cooper.
Yeah, Michael Cooper was in the WCAG contingency, but I worked with Education Outreach Working Group, which, like, if we skip Patrick really quickly, which we always should,
Yeah.
just kidding. Sean Henry was my closest person I worked with for a long time, and Shadi Abuzara, of course,
Oh, of
I
course,
worked with.
Charlie. Yes, you can't.
Yeah, and then underneath, yeah, now we're going like off the script. Like underneath Sean is Hidde de Vries, who I worked with like briefly for the last year or so at W3C. So that's where
Ah,
we
because you
crossed
worked
paths.
there as well. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
What I would say of all of these people that I use the term rogues gallery, but I really think that Hidi is an actual rogue. He's There's something going on with him. I don't know. We'll talk about this offline, but I'm pretty sure he's got some sort of schemes going on. Back to this. Who's the person next to Sean?
next to Sean is Marco Zehe, good friend of
Yeah.
mine. I worked for Mozilla for a long time, and then
Yes,
retired. And but like
I miss
Jaws
Marco.
before.
Yeah, I miss his participation, and
Yeah.
I do remember seeing him at several Sea Suns and Tea Packs. So yeah, it was always good to. Yeah, a fine mind and a fun guy.
Super fun. Like I always enjoy hanging out with Marco, so he's really great. Also, a good follow on Mastodon, I have to say.
Good for what?
Um, Pardon?
Also for what?
A good follow on Mastodon.
Ah, yes, yeah. I follow him on Mastodon. Say hi to him for me when you talk to him next.
I can do that.
Um,
Then we have
so
Chris Hyman.
yes, Chris Holman. I mean, he's well. Sorry, I mean, I picked him because he was there from the other day with Bruce, but also because he's German. I mean, it's lazy on me, but I thought I'd get in some Europeans there.
Yeah,
So, I
that's
mean, have you is he someone that you've interacted with or
yeah. I invited him when I organized like these are all these like facets of what I did like a long time ago, but like in 2008 and 9. I organized a conference in Austria, in Vienna, called ATAC. And in one of them, or both maybe, we invited him to speak. And yeah, long time interaction, and being someone who like always tried to like walk that line of like how you communicate with developers and also bring in accessibility as a fun thing, which like I don't
yeah,
know how that works, but like yeah, it used to do that.
yeah, yeah, Christian. What more can I say? Uh, do you know the person next to Chris? Not many people
Uh,
do, but
I think I do know both people next to Christian, I
Yeah, well,
think, but
yeah.
I'm totally blanking on the names and where to place
Well,
them.
next to Christian is my good friend Hans Hillen, who I worked with for
Oh,
8 years.
yeah, of course.
Hans and I started on the same day. He's always been very good at what he does, and accessibility wise, and he did some real sort of stuff. He was putting ARIA into the the Yahoo mail interface back in the early 2000s.
Nice.
When, yeah, so, yeah, but he doesn't have, he doesn't have the big mouth that I have, and therefore yeah, it's the same as, I talk about Jez Lemon, and talked about Jez with Bruce and the other night, and what I was saying was that he looms very large in because when I first started off, he was the leading light, he was the
Yeah.
person who did shit, um, and the his shit was solid. But now, people just don't know who he is. I know who he is because I continue to work with him, and I work with him at Technological now, and he's still a very good accessibility practitioner. He just doesn't write about it.
Yeah,
So
and his blog was, I think, which is Juicy Lemon, as we all know.
those-
Well, no, the young people among us don't know, of course. This is how
yeah,
this all goes. But like, no, it's the fundamental on like, okay, what is accessibility? How does it work? Like, I think there are a few like fundamental people where I say like, without those, I'd never been super interested in accessibility and just blog
Jez
and
is one of
work,
them. Yeah.
very high up there.
Jez and I are approximately the same age. His birthday's 5 days before mine, and his birthday was Tuesday. So my birthday is on Saturday. So yeah, so we're very similar age. We work at the same companies for a good part of our working life. It's
Nice.
a funny thing. Yeah, and I really like Jez. Okay, so yes, there's Hans Hillen, who I don't work with anymore, but still works at TPG, or whatever with Sparrow, whatever they're called now. And the young, well, he's not so young anymore, but he always looks young to me, is Ian Lloyd.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that
I
was,
think I think I've never met him.
oh, haven't you? Yeah, you're not missing much. Uh, no, no. I manage him. He's a nice guy, and he knows his stuff as well, and he's always tinkering, always
Yeah, and
building stuff.
I use his tools all the time. Like it's
Yeah.
really really good, and I like that he's sharing so much. Like I really
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, like I mean, I think that's always part of, well, my personal credo anyway, is share information, share knowledge, share tools. And that's one of the things that I find difficult with just having a Trump moment and going off on a complete tangent. That's the one of the things that I find, that there's all this talk about AI, accessibility testing tooling, but I haven't actually seen any yet that's any good. Um,
No,
and yeah,
I mean if it exists, then it's like super rare. Like I mean it must be the
well,
rarest thing on the earth. They're talking it up, and I'm like. If it exists and if it works good, I have no problem to use any tool, right? That's
yeah,
like I'm totally open for that. But I see so often like people going like, "Oh, this tool will in like an unspecified time will fix this specific issue." And like the first thing is like we probably already have a tool that does that.
yep.
And the other thing is like, but can you show me something? I want to believe you. If you can show me like a concept or a prototype or something, that would be nice. And then people go like, yeah, I will show it eventually, and then nothing comes out of it.
There was,
And that I think is super exhausting. Like, either have something that is like good and show it and like, be approachable, or say like, yeah, I don't have something, and that's also okay, but it just feels like more advertisement than anything else, or like trying to be like in the zeitgeist of things. And I don't think that's super useful, like on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah. No, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. I was just thinking about because yeah, there's this guy Dave Fazio. Do you know Dave Fazio?
I heard of him, I
Yeah,
think.
well, I mean, I just know him from the W3C, but he's always pushing some AI accessory testing software, but I didn't get a good feeling about the features, functionality of it, so I haven't uh, followed it up much more. But anyway, I don't know what I'm doing all the time.
I also don't know what you're doing, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
that's
that's
that's part of the charm of this, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Well,
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
yeah. Okay, so you are screwed. So I've got the screen share up. I think. Um, let's just get this through, so then we can. So
Right. So I can tell you who I recognize. I recognize Christoph Strobbe on the right.
with no Christoph Strobler's not
I-
there. That's Detlef Fischer, I think.
oh, it's Detlef Fischer. I
Yeah.
always mix them up. So
Oh
sorry,
yeah,
Detlef.
yeah. Well, sorry, Christoph.
Well,
Yeah,
I apologize by the person I had like less in my head, I guess.
yeah. Okay, I won't ask you any more questions on that. So then we've got Bruce,
That's Bruce, yes.
and then
I don't recognize
that's
her.
Lola Oldalola.
Oh, right. That looks
So
different than her like profile picture, so I did
yeah,
not
yeah.
recognize it.
I don't know where I found that one. Um,
Awesome.
I
She's
can't
so good, man.
see who's in the middle there now. 'Cause I'm trying to look up. Look at who's next to Rian.
I don't. What's the name?
Let,
I'm bad with names, as you
let me have
can.
a look. Let me have a look. Oh, it's Billy Gregory.
Yeah, it's
I
Billy
couldn't
Gregory.
tell.
That's the
Yeah.
name. Totally blanked on it. Then we
Yeah,
have
yeah, a lot
Rian.
of people blank on Billy's name. That's Billy and from when I was at Accessory TO last year. And that see he's showing his which I don't know if you can see, but he's showing his new or his latest uh
Tattoo.
tattoo, yeah, which is a picture of his dad's oh could you just favor close that door? Thanks. Yes. Um, that the tattoos, the picture of the plane that his dad, the first plane his dad flew or something.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, I fell asleep as well when he was telling me that story. Rian, I don't know how to say her second name, so
I think it's Riedfeld.
Riedfeld,
So
yes.
easy for a German. It's like really easy uh, to say those names sometimes. Um, yeah, I mean, she's also like really great. I really want to highlight her because like she's doing so much things and very like under the radar for most people.
Yeah,
And a
yeah.
lot of with WordPress and stuff like that, but also like with trainings and stuff like that. So
I know
really,
that she's
really
yeah, she's
appreciate her.
yeah. So I'd like to get her on to talk about. I know I well know her. You know, we know of each other, so I should be able to. But yeah, I've got a lot of respect for her. Unlike the next person. Do you know who the next person is?
I don't know who that is.
It's Matthew Atkinson.
Oh, that's Matthew
Doctor,
Atkinson.
that's another. He's another doctor.
So you have basically like a rectangle of like from doctor to doctor, and then all the like other people in between.
Yeah, well, you're a doctor too.
I'm not a doctor.
Well, well,
I'm just play one on TV. That's
cosplay
what.
of Doctor Who. I mean, come on. Yeah. So, but Matthew actually, used to work with Matt for many a year. He now works at Samsung as the web standards lead or something. Um,
Right.
and he's on the technical architecture group at W3C. He's one of the boffins. And he also is chair of the Accessible Platform Architectures Working Group, along with Yanina. And what they do is well, as you know, that they do horizontal spec reviews, a lot of stuff to look at
Yeah.
all the other specs that are coming out, like the CSS stuff, and make sure that they at least um, pay some lip service to accessibility.
Yeah. I wish they had more power to like say this is not good. Just do it again. Like, I mean we have the whole like CSS carousel stuff, and I always thought when I worked at W3C, like the APA horizontal review stuff is very unthankful work because like you
Yes.
get those specs and they are basically done, and you like this is one thing like I think people don't realize when they interact with W3C is like so much at W3C is this like trying to get to consensus.
Mm.
And often, like when you work as a staff in W3C or when you are a chair or something like that, you want to minimize tension to get to consensus, right? Because that's like, if there's no consensus, there's no spec, there's no work, right? Then nothing happens. And so for APA, you get these specs and they're basically done and everyone in the group feels good about it. And then you come in and you say like, you have to do something. And it's like, yeah, it's not the optimal way to do it.
No.
And so I think their stuff is limited from what they can say like in the process, but also from like just better have something out than like being like
Well,
blocking the process altogether, right?
one of the things that I know they're trying to do is create a checklist for when new specs are started. So there's things to take into account because I remember when I was looking at it 10, 15 years ago, um, that some of the specs just don't have any because it's really user interface. You, you know, so if they don't have any user facing parts, then you don't have to worry about it type thing. But
Right.
if they do, then so having, getting them to, it's like anything, getting them to think about it earlier in the development life cycle of the specification is important. Talking of development life cycles and specifications, let's talk a little bit about WCAG 3.
Yeah. It's apparently it's happening. that's
Yeah,
that's what I know about it. I know that they made a lot of progress over the last year or two. I think I'm much more positive about it today than I was like, a year ago or something like that.
that's
I,
what has changed to make you feel more positive about it.
I think they went much more concrete on certain things. Like it used to be like that it was all like, oh, we're going to do this and that, and like, high level things, which is normal when you start out with a new project. But I think now it feels like much more concrete, but it also feels still so early. Like, I mean, I know that they want to have a candidate recommendation in 2027 or something like that.
Yeah, because what I was when I was listening to the what was it, the meeting the other day, it's my impression was that the candidate recommendation is going to be 2030, but then Alistair pointed out, like I knew about the what the timeline was in the wiki, but it changes all the time.
you cannot trust timelines in standards.
No,
It's just not. It's just impossible. Like, it's like it's just asking the impossible thing. And like, working, in the team at W3C, like, showed me that, like, really clearly. People have lofty ambitions, but then when it goes into the nitty-gritty, it can go like so long and complicated and get so cumbersome that it just drags out, and you have to have consensus. So you can only stop, only finish when everyone feels good about something. And feeling good about something, you can't like time box that, right? That's
no,
just not, doesn't work. Um, yeah, generally about like about WCAG 3, I think it's probably at this point too big of a project to complete in time. Like, like and I mean really any reasonable time frame. Like, they want to change everything, like how we test, how we score, add like all these other disabilities to it, which I really welcome. It's like a great initiative, but like it's like the scope is so big.
yeah,
I don't feel like positive about that. And even if they finish it, right, then the work only starts for us in who
yeah,
actually do the work, like getting the tools, um, working out the kinks, like finding the issues. I mean, it
yeah,
will take a long time until we can productively do it. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It feels like a really big project. I wish them all the luck, but I still don't believe that it's going to happen, and that makes me a little
yeah.
bit sad, right?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, largely I'm a fly on the wall there because there's a subset of people that are aging white men or aging men. That's enough, like myself, who just like to take up all the oxygen in the room. And so I sit listening to the same people saying the same stuff over and over again for hours
Yeah,
and hours. So, I mean, I'm definitely interested, but for example, I think that the work that Pat and others are doing on the WCAG 2.2 subgroup are both important, challenging, and worthwhile because we all are touched by. I have to touch WCAG 2.2 in some way. So any improvement in the documentation, etc., is a win as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned.
yeah, for sure. I mean, this is like, and I mean but this is also like the tension between, like, in the working group, right? There's only one accessibility guidelines working group, so you have that mandate to create something new that needs to be, not only like as good as WCAG 2, which is a phenomenal spec. I think people forget this. Like,
Yeah,
people pick all the flaws, but these are flaws that exist since 2008. So we had a long time to find all the flaws in that specification. But in the essence, it's a really great spec and it's really working well, right? And I've seen, I think that was the same meeting that you were talking about. People were like, oh, and people are using WCAG to adapt it to mobile. And were complaining about that. And I'm like, yeah, it's that adaptive that you can apply it to mobile. And sure, you have to make some assumptions and it's not like a one-to-one fit, but like, what a great specification that you can take it and you can use it
yeah,
in other contexts. I think
yeah.
this is a positive thing, not a negative thing.
It's
Um,
viable and yeah, practical for it to be used in other contexts. And yeah, there are some gaps. That's one of the things that Greg van der Heijden was saying was that well, if we well, it was there was the implication that Wayhead 2.2 wasn't supposed to be technology agnostic, when I thought it was. 2.2 now, not 3. Um, that if they said, okay, if we said it can be used to test native apps as well, then we'd have to we'd have to increase the scope of it massively and bring in all these other things. And I'm thinking, well, they're already doing it and they've already made their accommodations. Just let them just continue. Don't. I mean, it seems like. Sorry, I can't hear you now.
I muted myself.
Oh,
That's how that goes. No, but WCAG to ICT exists, right?
yeah,
Which basically takes WCAG and even more generalizes it. And I think that's a feature. And like I think even if you say like, oh, the things that we're doing for 2.2 or 2.3, how we specify them in WCAG is web specific. It doesn't hurt anyone to not use them for mobile apps, right? Or for native like
yeah,
desktop apps or whatever. Like, yeah, you can't test it. So what? I don't know. I don't. I
yeah,
don't. I don't think it's a problem. And like then we have this like complexity, and you go with like WCAG 3, and you say like, oh, but for WCAG 3 we either abandon it completely and we say like this is only for web, and you are not allowed to like apply it to other things, which would be bad.
yeah.
Or you could say like, no, it's like WCAG, it's like trying to be open and you can adapt it. And like these are the two options. Like
Yeah.
I think people think there is like a third better option, but like no, when people think it's useful, they will adapt it to their thing, and that's just how it
Well,
goes.
exactly. I mean, yeah. I mean, I, being in the business that the work that I do and what you do as well. I mean, it's just day to day. The way he's used. He's used in across countries, across regions to test native apps. So
Yeah. And
it's
the
yeah,
put it basically in writing and how it goes. And now it's like I don't feel I always feel this like push to have this like one true reading of like how WCAG should be used. A lot of people are pushing for like purity, like doing a purity test on like, oh, this success criterion can only be used in this context and only this way. And I like to be like much more practical with how I test.
well, I think that one of the things that came up was the notifications on the whatever the success criterion is, and it was originally scoped only to markup languages. So it was about users receiving notifications. I mean, and notifications are a big part of native apps, and so I know that well, it's not in WCAG, but it's been adapted to basically say, it's not just markup languages that interfaces, which I think is a wise and practical thing. I mean,
Yeah, I think
just
too.
facing the truth. Um, I do believe that the pushback is largely political, and that it's sort of the clout of certain members of the organisation that want to throw their weight about. But
Yeah. And
wait
we
and see.
always had that,
Oh yeah,
like I know the things, and I've seen it behind the scenes, and it wasn't pretty when WCAG 2.2 was like talked about, and seeing like how the members like went after each other and like going like, this can't do this and this can't do that. I don't want to go into specifics,
yeah, yeah,
mostly because I don't know them anymore.
yeah.
I'm very good at forgetting stuff like that. But it was like, I was like, come on, do you want to like move on and move along and get this done, or do you want to like, you know, make fires here and like
Oh,
and
fires
just
every
like
time.
and
Uh,
and people always say like, oh, this like W3C specs are technical documents. I mean, they're called technical reports, right? But like they are deeply, deeply political
oh yeah.
documents. And I think people need to acknowledge that. And I think that's one of the things, like when you read something and it reads like, oh, in WCAG you have like three exceptions and then like an exception of an exception and stuff like that. That's all because political, there was no way to write this in an easy way. And this is the best thing we could have, for consensus. And that's just how it is. And we have to work around it and with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting consensus and interesting concept. That d- do you think that because I heard the concept being mentioned in terms of the European, the EU, do they have a consensus process or is it?
I think that depends. I think there are certain parts of the EU Parliament that like can only make decisions for. So for trade, for example, I think it's majority based, but in others like human rights things, I think they need to be like unanimous. And so yeah, there's this thing, but I think the like guiding principle is to be consensus based, right?
Yeah,
Because we try to share values and stuff.
yeah. So you work for Access Labs, you work remotely, I presume,
Yes.
and you live in Germany. I'm not going to ask which part of Germany now because I,
Just the most northern part of Rhineland-Palatinate. So
uh, is
nobody knows where that is anyway. So
a nice
that does.
place where you live? Like, is it a
Yeah,
nice surroundings?
yeah, it's super nice. Like it's one of these like mixed, hilly, but also a lot of rivers.
Yeah,
We're not living in a big city, so it's really like it's basically the best between like living remote and living like somewhere where you can, we have a train station and stuff like
yeah.
that. So it's really nice. I can
So
only
in
recommend it.
yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I enjoy working from home, and I have worked from home since 2006, so 20 years now. But it can be isolating. It's
Yeah,
why,
I mean, I have never worked in an I yeah, I want to say I've never worked in an office. I worked in an office like in 2006 one time. But apart from that, all remote, all my own workspace, own things, and that's how I like it, and that's what makes me productive. And yeah, I mean, it can be like alone, but I don't like as someone who is introverted, which like it's difficult to some people have difficulty with like people who do like speaking and stuff like
yeah,
this, and also being like super introverted. Like when this is over, I'm getting dinner and then I'm just lying down and I'm not doing nothing for the rest of the day, right?
yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, when I on the odd occasion I present, it just wipes me out.
Yeah, it's so exhausting. And especially like I am not someone who can like really prepare for talks. Like I write my slides and then like the talk, even before I write the slides, happens in my head
Yeah,
all the time. Like I always go through it. I always go like, oh, this is interesting. I could mention this and that. And like it never ends. And then the talk really comes together only when I'm presenting.
yeah.
Like I can't do it. Like I know that some people like learn all the lines of their talk and just like
Well,
can
that's yeah.
recite it.
What's I remember Lloydie
Not
sort of
for me.
like learning his and like he had a recording that he'd listened to at 2 times speed of the presentation. So he fuck. I mean, I don't tend to write. I write the slides and then I just get up there and wing it. Really, I mean, it only works because I know my topic well. I don't go up and
Right.
try to bullshit about, something I know nothing about. But, I'm usually just trying to talk about stuff that I know something about. And B, I don't tend to say the same thing over and over again. Like, I don't have a talk that then I take on the road. Lots of people do.
Yeah. I did that for a time and it was really fun. But it was also the thing that I was like, and that was probably my ARIA serious talk, where I talked about like ARIA issues and like how people are misusing ARIA. Like also super fun talk. So it was not like a drag to like do it over and over again. But I also wanted every time I tried to like, oh, I changed this slide or I do
Yeah,
this differently, just
yeah.
to also
I
not
mean,
only to
yeah,
improve it, but also to make it more interesting for me, right?
yeah. I've reused bits of things, but yeah, I've things are so bespoke that I talk about and then write about that they're used. Yeah, that it's not as if it's a retread of something. It's just, but at the same time, as I've got older, I've started to, like I go back and my back. I was going to say my back passage, but it's not. My back, the like earlier stuff I've done, like
Right.
I do tend to pick up those things. And also I see this discussion thing that I'm doing as I don't know, it sort of seems right to be doing this at this time in my life.
Yeah, totally. And and I understand like there is time and space. And I was like also like noticing when I stopped, doing talks in 2023. And I noticed that like, oh, I think I have said enough. Like this is enough talking to people on a stage or like through
Yeah,
Zoom or whatever. I think something that is a lot of fun to me, and I would like to do it at some point again. But it just felt like, oh, for this time, this has been enough. And I did dabble a little bit with like doing YouTube videos in 2020, and stuff like that. I've always been thinking about doing like a podcast as well. Like, yeah, I in 2006 I had like a podcast with like 3 episodes, and it was very bad and in German. But it's also like
yeah,
20 years ago, so that's okay. And yeah, but like you just change and like it's different. And I was like, yeah, no, it's time for other people to say something, and give that space to other people, and that's totally fine, I think.
yeah. I mean, it's good to, yeah. I mean, I enjoy the opportunity to be able to get other people to talk about their lives. Talking about one's life. I mean, you're still a relatively young person, and
That's what
so
I tell me.
sorry.
That's what I tell myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, compared to me, I mean, I'll be 62. So I it only really struck me once I became 60 that I was old. I still managed to pretend to myself that I was young, but it takes time. So I'm sure you've got many years to go before you get to my particular.
Yeah, I mean, I just turned 42, so just
You're in the bloom of life. That's why I hang out with the swallow and Pat. Is that they're young? Yes, they're young people. Yeah. Oh yeah, will do. Sorry, I've got to finish it because I've got to send some information to my daughter's girlfriend about screws that she needs. They for some when we were up in Birmingham, I was up in Birmingham about a month ago with over Christmas with my daughters and Faith, who's Clara's girlfriend, and we were watching darts. I don't know if you've ever seen professional darts but being played.
I have seen it, but it's not my forte.
Well,
Like,
no, it's not my forte either, but they just it was on the TV at the hotel, and they've just become entranced with darts. They bought herself Clara's bought herself a dartboard and darts, and so they want to put the dartboard arrived today. They want to put it up. Um, I've got to attach it to a drywall, so it's just going to be yeah.
yeah, make sure to have something behind the dartboard where the darts can
Yeah,
go
they've got
in,
something
because
behind the
otherwise it
dartboard.
goes
It's
right
just
through the
yeah,
drywall.
yeah,
I've been there.
exactly. So yeah, so that's what I've got to go do. So I will say, well, we've been speaking for almost an hour now. Yes. So I'd say thank you, Eric. I didn't get to ask you many of the questions that I'd wanted to ask you. So again, like everybody else, you may revisit the fireside chat at a later time.
Yeah, you can
But,
just make like an invite appear in my calendar, and like if something is in my calendar, I will just join.
and and
That's how that works.
if you have any recommendations for people that you think would be good to talk to, because you know that the people on the European landmass better than I do, and so there's, or in general, I mean, there's lots of people that I don't know. So please, just
Yeah, I will send you people.
excellent.
We'll just like stand outside your house.
Why not? You can come sit in here, sit in my little cozy little office. Um, Thank you, and continue to do what you do. You're one of the people that I always enjoy your input into these various discussions that we have on web standards stuff because you're thoughtful, insightful, and clearly you have some sanity.
Oh, I hope so. Like I'm at least happy that it looks like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks for the invitation. This has been great, and yeah, feel free to like invite me again.
Have a look on the
You know,
Etsy store. Tell me, and then just send me the details, and I will get it sorted for you.
sure.
All right.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Eric.
Take
Catch you
care.
later.
Bye.
Bye.